All right, guys. Going to that idea about that book series Left Behind gave me an idea of another topic to go into, and that is the idea of inversion. How is it that these dark occults, these people who are trying to keep us in a karmic loop, do so? Well, they do it by telling you and showing you what's going on, but by inverting it. Inverting what they really want you to see and to understand. Okay? I'm going to use the example of this Left Behind series. Very much Masonic Christian propaganda, esoteric Christian propaganda. I know people will probably be like, oh no, it's based on the Bible. It's based on what the Bible says. Well, look, so they want you to think, they want you to believe that being left behind is the bad thing. Right? These Masonic churches, this church group that very much is in control of the world. Okay? They very much have been able to control the world by infiltrating the church, and now they're working their way into getting into every aspect of the government, and they're very close to doing so. And they've got you convinced that the Antichrist, this person of evil that's going to come and ruin everything, is this bad figure. But the thing is they've inverted it. They've been able to invert your thinking of Christ. You go to church and you worship their version of Christ, who I'm going to tell you is the Antichrist. I'm going to very much tell you, if you're a big Baptist believer, you will worship Antichrist. Yeah. You ever notice that the churches don't really want to preach out of the King James Bible? They don't really want to preach out of Revelation. They don't really want to talk about that kind of stuff. The only thing they really want you to think about is whatever makes them money in their tithe, whatever goes along with the government propaganda. Not a coincidence that they all get these huge tax breaks from the government too. You ever notice that all these really big fancy churches will be right across the street from City Hall? And that so many of your people that are yoked up in positions of government are also tied in with the church body? Yeah, guys. Antichrist. And what they've been able to do is to invert people into believing that this Antichrist, who actually is going to be the second coming, they've got you thinking the second coming of Christ is the Antichrist. And what you're actually worshiping when you go to that church is Antichrist. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you 90% of the people in that church aren't reading the Bible like they ought to. They're not really reading the Word. What they read is other works that occultists write. They've been able to pervert the Word, because you have a Bible. You have a Word. And I'm talking about, we're going to go into Western Christianity, okay? I'm here in the West, so this is what I emphasize on. But they've been able to twist the Word into all these other versions that are just basically men's writing, other men's writing past. Because they don't want you to read the closest thing that you have. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, the King James Bible is good enough. Just that. You don't need the notes, all the other added stuff that Rick Warren or any of those other big preacher guys added to it. You don't need that. You got the Word. And that's what I mean when I say you're actually worshiping Antichrist. Because what happens is most people in those groups, they go and get yoked up into a social club, and then they end up just reading literature that comes out of the church and not out of the Word. Now, they say that all that literature is based off of the Word, but you don't need Word that's based off of the Word. Only thing you really need to connect to your higher self, your Christ within you, is the Word and God. God gave you enough already, and He did it a long time ago. Now, other people groups have their own world teachers. Yeah, I know. People are going to be like, oh my gosh, you don't sound Christian at all. Christians only believe that Christians are the only way to heaven, or the only way to God. Yeah, well, how do you explain all the people that lived before Jesus walked the earth? And before Israel was even really a thing. You know, there were people alive before then. You're telling me the same God that created everything, they all just didn't have a chance? Silliness. Silliness. You know them by their fruit. That's what the Word says. That's really what you need to be thinking. And indeed, in the same way that the church has inverted the truth, so have the other world religions out there too. They've come out with ways to invert their truth and to get people into a low base mindset, to keep them in a low frequency, so that you will never actually connect to your Christ consciousness, to the Christ within you. You know, I'm going to tell you, reading some of this stuff with Yeats, you know, he really thought that the next world teacher, the Avatar, was going to come from his bloodline. He was convinced, pretty convinced.